Welcome back. On July 1st, Canada commemorated the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Exclusion Act, a dark chapter in its modern history that limited Asian immigration for 23 years. However, with the repeal of the act 75 years ago, China now stands as one of the top sources of immigrants to Canada. Interestingly, this milestone anniversary has become a platform for a trio of federal politicians to scrutinize a contemporary policy proposal, the Foreign Agent Registry, intended to combat foreign government interference. It's ignited a fierce debate and has also deepened the conversation surrounding the issue of anti-Asian racism within the current public discourse. Dean, I'll begin with you. Your thoughts on this registry?
Yeah, first of all, I strongly support the registry. I actually think the legislation right now needs to actually be tuned up even further in terms of being able to deal with the issues. The foreign agency registration would provide some accountability, but let's make no mistake about it. The United Front is busy with various individuals influencing and suggesting that people like myself and others around this table are racist against the Chinese Communist Party. Oh, sorry, against the people of China. We are not. We are pointing out the Chinese Communist Party, the regime, and the evilness of that to oppress and suppress people in the diaspora communities. We want their freedom. That's what we're fighting for. And Foreign Agency Registration Act would be one small tool. We need many more.
Sheng, has your work ever been weaponized? I mean, to what extent do you have to deal with the consequences of not speaking out versus doing nothing?
Yes, and I think the most important is everybody should live here freely, without fear. And now, so many people living in fear. And I think it's so sad, and that even to our politicians, senators, they stand on the side of China.
What's interesting is, Sam, is that Senator Victor O and others who are protesting the Foreign Agent Registry, you know, from what I've seen from the Chinese diaspora community, this is actually something that they do want.
I would agree. I haven't seen polling directly from diaspora communities, but I have a good sense of the political feeling out there in the community. And really, it's a no-brainer. We've heard from experts in Australia that their ramping up of an accountability registry did not lead to racism, quite the opposite. The fact is, though, that the Chinese Communist Party, as we've heard from other panelists, as I'm reiterating, is causing deep fear within communities, unacceptable levels of fear. I'm talking about threats of violence against Canadians. And so for politicians, including our Prime Minister, to say scrutiny of the Chinese Communist Party could amount to racism, or that a registry could somehow call up that dark history of the Exclusion Act, I'm sorry, just from my academic perspective, that, I believe, is a Chinese intelligence-inspired narrative. What we know from Russian disinformation is that facts are taken, they're twisted and used for political means. I believe this is what some Canadian politicians, I'm afraid, are guilty of on this matter.
I will echo what Sam and everybody said. Now, there is a thin line, and I agree with what basically the Chinese Communist regime right now is trying to make all of this propaganda that this act is all to divide our community against each other. And I may say that they are succeeding to some degree, because I had a conversation with many of the Chinese Canadian from the community, and they have the same fear. And this fear started even before that, during COVID, when there was an assault happening on the Asian and the Chinese community. Absolutely. So what the Chinese Communist regime did, that they took this small little incident and they just echo it to scare the community and to divide us as a Canadian. And that's exactly what's happened. But the interesting part, the threats on the community in the old days was only against the Chinese community themselves. But now they are attacking even Canadians that they are not from Chinese descent. So somebody like our organization, we've been attacked many times. Our threatening calls, hate emails, coming personally in our organization, threatening us. We went together, Sunche, me and you, to the police station because you was under direct threat and I was in your home. She's right, nobody goes to her home anymore. I'm the only guest that comes to her home now. And we went to the police station, and what did the police station told you? What the police officers told you? I was sitting down beside you.
Yeah, they just basically asked me to, if anything happened, to call 911.
Call 911.
That's how we fight the Chinese communist regime.
I'd like to just, before we go to break, bring in our friend from Iceland. Do you have any thoughts on this? And maybe I'll ask you to speculate about the future of relations between China and Iceland, and Europe, for that matter.
When it comes to Europe, we are seeing more friendly face now, and the tone is different. It's milder and better, but you never know what's behind the smile. But and they are also, encouraging, promising economy. Cooperation and so on. But it seems that they are more interested now in making money than in intimidating. We hope that is the case. And I think Europe should welcome this friendly face, what we are seeing. But we have to be cautious, that's for sure. But the bottom is that also we have to understand that Europe is facing the most serious challenges since the World War II. And we have to follow very closely China and Russia friendship. That is very important. So.
All right, and in just a minute, we'll be back with final thoughts from our panel. That's next.